Troy Galloway is a construction manager and consultant, commercial and residential builder, and a certified inspector for all commercial and residential buildings. And now, here is About the House with Troy Galloway.
Hello, folks. Hey, welcome back to About the House. This is your audio university of knowledge on everything about your home, from construction, remodeling, home improvement, building, everything home related. You also have a forever library with our podcast and our YouTube TV shows on each subject we air. And you can also find more information about my company, Galloway Building Services, on our webpage at naturally GallowayBuildingServices.com, our Facebook page, Galloway Building Services. We've been around for 42 years, so there's a lot of people out there that know who we are. This is Troy Galloway. I am your humble host, owner of Galloway Building Services. Just like this show, we're one of a kind. There isn't another company in the Midwest that provides what we do for people every day. We actually help people with construction consulting. If you have any questions about if your job's being done right or not, you give us a call. We do new construction inspections, making sure that they actually are building it correctly before they cover it up and before you don't know what's happening. And it's by then, it's too late. We also do commercial and residential inspections. So if you're buying or selling a building, give us a call. Make sure you're not buying a money pit and you know what you're getting into. We also do construction conflict resolutions and expert witnessing if you ever have any litigation work. Heaven forbid it ever gets to that point, but you need a extra party coming in. Not only do I come in for the company for representing you, but we bring in other experts from other industries to also help you, so you make sure you're being well covered. Our motto has always been is we're here to make sure you're getting what you paid for. The job is being done right, and you're not getting ripped off. So give us a call at Galloway Building Services, and our office number is 636-394-3112. Now, today, folks, I actually got Steve Merlo of Pipe Solutions, and his family have been in the industry for years and years, maybe 80 years or so, 60 years, a long time. I've known Steve since, for almost 30 years. So, hey, we was just laughing before we got started. Back when we got started, we both had hair, and what hair we had, it wasn't even white. With that said, I'm going to jump right in here and introduce you to my good friend, Steve Merlo, Pipe Solutions. They do plumbing, pipelining, and irrigation. Steve, kind of tell us a little bit about your company, how you come to where you're at, and kind of catch us up.
Sure. Thanks, Troy. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share some of our daily events that we're dealing with in today's time and what we've done in the past. So right now, we currently have a dozen trucks on the road. We do service the full service of plumbing, both inside residential and commercial type applications. We're a company that has a lot of knowledge. I'm not only a master plumber, both in the city of St. Louis and city county, and master drain layer. We also have another master plumber with us, and looking to hire another one. So we have journeyman plumbers, master plumbers in the plumbing area. And we have especially kind of trained with some of the new trenchless technologies, these no-dig technologies that have kind of been to many international shows, trade shows that have brought this technology from all over the world to the St. Louis area. We originally got involved with pipelining in 1999. 1999 was a time when the patents kind of went up on it from a European patent, and it kind of was brought to North America in a way that other processes could come. And so when we're talking about pipelining, we're actually solving these pipe-related problems that we have an aging system. There's cracks, there's separations, and we can't always dig those up where the locations are. So my focus, the company's focus, was to take these, get them approved in North America, get them approved in our ordinances here in St. Louis and surrounding areas, and that's taken time, but we're right where we're at right now with able to do things that that's what sets us apart. We've differentiated ourselves to be that full service plumbing company, but also a specialty company to take care of these pipe related problems in the area.
Well, and I know that you got a great reputation, and of course you're like me. People have known you for years and years too. You said you work in St. Louis City and County, but what about Jeff County, St. Charles County?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Our
office.
What about Illinois?
Well, okay, so our office is set up in Wentzville. We're trying to be the neighborhood plumber out in the Wentzville, the 70 corridor, so St. Charles, Lake St. Louis, O'Fallon, St. Peters. We take service calls all through there. We do. I have more of a presence of South County and more of the West County and South City area. So we do a lot of heavily work in those areas.
Well, that's great, because I know I refer you all the time. I just want to make sure I wasn't giving bad referrals out in areas. Oh, no. But I knew that I thought that you did Wentzville, so that's an awesome area coming up too. Now, I want to kind of jump right into this because it's your service is just so awesome. I mean, the techniques that you're using. I want to start with, the underground or sewer laterals. Folks, sewer lateral. Well, explain to the folks what sewer lateral. You're the professional. I'm just the guy that looks at them.
I think a lot of people in general, just once the toilet's flushed or your laundry's gone or you're washing dishes, it doesn't matter. It just goes. And that's the one time that everybody then is worried about is when it backs up in their basement, or if it backs up in out in areas that unforeseen. And usually on a Friday night or Sunday night, that's when that happens. So, but and you have to be ready for that. But to be more preventive maintenance, the sewer lateral is from the building drain at your house out to the main sewer, which is in our area, the Metropolitan Sewer District. So you are responsible, and you as a homeowner, from the connection, including the connection all the way to your home or building. And so there have been, since it originated in the city of St. Louis, it was unfair for people that had collapsed sewers in the back alleys, in the front streets, that it was affecting that public right-of-way. So the cities have gotten together, and in order to preserve that, they've set up sewer lateral programs. These are insurance programs in both the city and county and in different municipalities. If they've approved a lateral insurance program, it would show up on their property tax that they've been part of this program.
Good point.
And what we do as Pipe Solutions is to try to help get that customer in that program as much as possible, so that the city pays for that, because that is protecting the right of way, either in the front of the home or the back of the home. And in particular, it's been a proven effective program to help the customer. Now, that being said, the only way we can do that to get into the program is that a licensed master plumber or drain layer has to write a report based on a sewer camera inspection. And a lot of those are done in the building inspections at the sale of a home. Mm-hmm. So that's where this all comes to play.
And that's what I'd like to make a distinction here. So when a home inspector, any home inspector, does a home inspection, folks, they just are looking at what they can see. Everything that Steve's talking about with his underground sewer drain lateral, this is what you don't see. So that's a separate inspection where they go in with the camera and take a look at it. But if it's broken, collapsed, this is where you need to have the experts come in. And talk to us about, say, we have a lot of cast iron underneath our old homes. Right. And we're not even that old of homes. Well, at our age, I guess they're not. but with that, and because I'm going to hit on, after we get done with the cast, I want to head over to ABS pipe. But because there's something there. But do we have to tell us what you can do to save us from having to destroy our whole concrete basement?
Right. So what's happened is that our infrastructure is now over 100 years. St. Louis area is 150 years old, I think, this year. And we get a lot of houses that come from the city area, and this technology that we have to look with the camera to see these problems can be solved without having to dig all these up, because we're under finished basements with the cast iron. All homes have 4-inch cast iron under the floor and under the foundation, under that footing. Some of the late 1800s, they were allowing in the Soulard area to have clay piping come up into the home, and they found that clay over time on the building load would stress and crack the clay. So the code reads in the plumbing world is that cast iron came in 5-foot and 10-foot sections, so they wanted within 5 feet for that cast iron to be under that foundation wall of the home. So then the plumber would then put the clay, and they didn't have a fitting back in that time, but they would push the cast iron into the clay, put a little what we call oakum, a plumber's rope, and put that around in a little bag of concrete, and that was it. And so over time, those are issues where that's washed away, roots come in, the roots of the trees are seeking the moisture of the sewer, and that's why the clay is not a watertight connection. The cast iron is watertight and should be watertight, but over time, because the plumbers use lead to join the pipes, and the problem is our soil has attacked that, and over time has attacked the cast iron pipe, and so the pipe is the weakest part. We're having the tops, you see on the camera, the tops are cracked and gone, the bottoms are washed out.
Yeah, see that a lot.
And we get a lot of those problems. So that, unfortunately, is not in any of the insurance programs because that's under your home. But as you go to that clay piping out to the main sewer, that's part of the program.
So tell us what you can do so as that we don't have to tear a floor up.
Right. So that's why our processes literally take, the best way I explain it to people is you take your sock, because it is a felt sock with fiberglass woven into the sock typically, but we can make that sock pretty much as however long we need to make it. Typically it's average 20, 30 feet long. Sometimes it gets into the 50 to 100 feet long all the way out to across the street, but we fill the sock with epoxy. It gets wet, what we call wet out, or impregnated all the resin inside the sock. The sock is open-ended, and what we do is we put it in a machine and we turn the sock inside out. So when we turn the sock inside out, all that epoxy goes to the outside, and the outside of the sock becomes the inside, and that has a PVC coating. So it has a polyurethane coating that forms. So the sock goes to the length we want, then we put a balloon inside there that's calibrated, that's to the ID of the pipe. So we hold it there, usually about 4 hours on a cure time with that. Once it's cured, we deflate the balloon, pull it out, and you're left with a brand new pipe.
Now, what about whenever we move from our cast, which you said 4-inch,
Yes.
average, because I know it's crazy out there. Lord only knows what some of the people have done. But then you go to our drain tile, which is a predominantly 6-inch.
That's correct.
So how does your system, can it work for that?
Oh, most definitely. And that's a good question, Troy, because what we have is we have a transitional liner. So we are moving from 4 to 6, and that connection is usually that 5 foot is usually under a front porch or a back porch. And that's where that problem is. That's where a lot of roots come in. That's where those connections were not a watertight connection. So the liner is a continuous sock that lines from, we have the ability either to have it sewn or it stretches from 4 to 6.
Cool.
And that will completely seal that off, and you have a continuous pipe at the end with no couplings going from your 4-inch cast iron to your 6-inch clay.
Yeah, so, I've been trying to explain this to folks for years after you introduced me to this system, I don't know, several years ago, because I know you've been doing it for a long time, but I'm glad you're explaining it because I could see that I wasn't saying it 100% accurate, but I did know that you said something about the transition. Well, it seems to me is that if we actually don't have to tear my concrete floor up. It seems to me if I don't have to dig up the yard or sidewalks, I mean, how are we saving money, right?
Sure. Yeah, most definitely, especially when it's under a structure. So if we're under the cost of excavating that and the pain of going through tearing up new tile or landscape or that 50 to 100-year-old tree, or going underneath some of the utilities out on these roads with sidewalks, we have fiber optics, we have gas lines, water lines. The value of lining far exceeds excavating and the safety of doing that.
What kind of warranty comes with something like that?
Right. So we, as a company, we've been doing it for 20 years now. But in the industry, we're all trained, licensed installers for the systems that we use. And we, as contractors, are warranting it for a full year, but as that we're installing it per the manufacturer's specifications. The manufacturers have testing labs, and they've accelerated this lining, properly installed, to 50 years.
50. Okay. Well, then, the average people living in their home 7 to 10 years, I mean, that's going to, you'll be able to raise your family and your grandchildren in there.
No,
50 years.
Most definitely. So the thing is that the testing labs are coming back that the liner is stronger than PVC pipe itself.
Really? Better than PVC? Wow. Well, I'm sure some environmentalists will come after you for that if it lasts out sooner or later. Yeah. Nothing's supposed to last forever.
Yeah.
But hey, real quick on that, with that running out there like that, is that program, you say it's picked up by the outside of the home,
right.
And they will pet a lot of our areas are. And didn't you tell me several years ago? Maybe I'm incorrect. This is something that they've been doing over in Europe as this type of lining type of system.
Right. That's why they accelerated the testing. We've only been doing it here 20 years. Our infrastructure in the United States is 200 years old. Where Europe, where this is all originated from, is over 500 years old, and they have those testing labs there. But here in North America, we've been trying to follow their testings, and so the most of the products have then been Americanized now. A lot of it was all metric size. Everything's been Americanized in the last 20 years. So
yeah, that's great, and I know there's tons more. So folks, when it comes to this underground, don't go tear up your property, and just don't freak out when the inspector says, hey, you got a collapsed line. There's a easy, quick, economical, honestly, system, and with Pipe Solutions with Steve. But I know there's a ton more. I'll let you talk to them when you come to their house, because I really want to hit on some other issues too. Why I got your brain here to pick, and that is, we'll stay on cast for a minute before we move to some of our others. Now, people ask me, and I want you to explain. I want a master plumber explaining this, not me. But them little on our cast iron. And you got them little blisters. They kind of look like fungus, and they're discolored. Explain to the folks what's happening there.
Right. So our area, I guess two things. What you're seeing visibly is also happening inside the pipe. It's deteriorating, and it oxidizes in a lot of ways with the water, air that's in the pipe. We can't just paint over the top of that. We just can't put the duct tape and the different things over that, because eventually we're going to have some problems. So the main thing is to keep it cleaned, to keep it running. I get a lot of people with the real estate sales that, it's no different than buying that car from the little old lady that had sat there and never used it and only used it on Sundays. If we have a house that's as is and it's sitting there and nothing's running through there, it's still deteriorating. By not having water flow through there properly, the sewer gas is hydrogen sulfide gas, is what it is. Is the gas is attacking the top of the pipe, and especially when we have no water running through there. So an unused thing, by it sitting there, is not necessarily helping the plumbing system. So we want to keep things in proper working order. You have to maintain the underground, the vent piping, the stack piping, all of that piping, and keep things flowing through there.
Us regular tradesmen, we have our own names, but what is the proper name for that? So when I call it out, it don't make
the blistering.
Yeah, because it's not really called blistering.
Well,
I know what we call it, but I want a master plan. And besides calling it a pain in the rear.
Yeah, so it is a deterioration of the iron. And in the soil, it's happening because the different soils that were backfilled around it are attacking the pipe from the outside, but we have different things attacking it inside the pipe as well, the sewer gas.
So would you recommend that, and something like that, would you recommend that we replace that, or would you recommend that, is there a repair that we can do instead of replacing?
Well, I just had one here, which is down by Forest Park area, which those were built during the World's Fair, so that's 1904. So we're over 100 years. And replacing is the right thing to do if you can, but the section that we have a problem is behind a bookcase or in a outside wall. A lot of the lining in buildings is more commercial, churches, but also some of the older homes that are 3 stories and that. Most of the roof drains are inside the walls.
Yeah.
And they, over time, have had issues because of cold expansion, contraction, the temperatures that are affecting the pipe as well. And we've been able to line those without getting into the walls. So one of the other things that's happening, and that was asked this morning because we don't always have basements, we're coming into crawl spaces. So applications for lining without having to get into a crawl space, to go under an addition, to go under these front porches or in interior walls, it's happening now. So all the lining originated outside from the main sewers. They're going from a manhole to a manhole. Our focus as plumbers has been, and mine is for Pipe Solutions, has been the building drains and the sewer lateral, which is connecting to those mains. So there's a lot of applications. You might think, too, we're working on a pool today. So anything pipe related, we're doing the bottom drain of a pool, the jet lines of a pool. These are all lining applications, fountains. Some of the fountains in St. Louis we've lined.
Well, didn't you do some work at the Botanical Gardens here a few years ago, or maybe you do it regularly down there for them? Yeah, so we've done we've done all their fountains, installed them back in the 80s and into the 90s. We maintained them. They also built an extreme system. Another thing Pipe Solutions does is irrigation. So our focus has been moving water through the sewer system, correcting piping under there, and through the irrigation, fountains, plumbing systems of buildings. So that's the name, the Pipe Solutions. Yeah. And we're solving these pipe-related problems through new technology and water-saving devices and trying to conserve those. And that falls into the sewer because we don't want the water leaving the sewers. That would be unsanitary. And we don't want the storm water coming into the sewers. That's what our area has, this Project Clear, which is to clear the storm water from getting into the sanitary water because it's overloading the treatment plants. We're having so many problems on those ends. And which brings up to, what do we put down sewers? What do we do? We can't, during these rough times right now, people are more sheltered in place. They're using things more. We're having more stress on the systems themselves. And we can't throw just anything down these toilets. We cannot. We can't use these baby wipe type things that are not dissolvable. That can't come down. I got a question about that. Are you finding that is something that we're getting more of because the people are in home and they're using and everybody is scared to death of, they're wiping their hands more often. Are you finding more people putting in products down the toilet?
Commercial wise they are definitely they're using paper towels that's backing up the sewers. In these older homes that have the older cast iron and the roots that have come over, normal toilet paper might dissolve and pass through, but the baby wipes, they're not dissolvable. They're causing problems. They're backing up sewers.
I've been hearing that a lot, that it's happening. So I wanted to hear it firsthand. Sure. So, and folks, I know we've been told for years, but it's amazing, especially our tenants, They seem to think that feminine products and hair extensions and baby wipes and even baby diapers, disposable baby diapers go down there. And then, well, they don't. No. And as we've had on our radio show, you might even know the Water Genie. She was on our show. You're in BNI or had been, and she's in BNI, so she did our show. She's a fabulous person. She was talking about the same thing you was talking about, the systems. We need to. We got great water. We're blessed. But we got to do it right. I got a question here. Now, this is something that I'm switching gears, so on you switch.
That's right.
And that is our condensate coming out of our high energy efficient. This is what we're getting reports all over the country, our high energy efficient furnaces. And we don't even have a code for a filter here in Missouri here. You do in other states. But they see the grates are literally rusting out from this condensate. So talk to me about how that condensate, or tell the folks, when you get something that caustic that's eating your grate, what's that doing to the cast iron naturally?
Right. No, that's true. There are a lot of process type water that we're changing our water and across the country. We fortunately have fairly good water here in St. Louis, but in even areas as we move west out into where we're at, the Wentzville, the St. Charles, and St. Peter's areas, it's much harder water, and it's causing problems on some of the newer water heaters, which are the tankless water heaters. You have to filter or soften that water. It has to be conditioned because on a cooling system, the byproduct of that condensate is now might have a higher acidity, that's causing problems onto the drains, and just any piping altogether, and it breeds here, which brings up more health issues. It breeds the different diseases like the Legionnaire type disease and things like that then spread through the air. So that's why there are codes and there are rules, and we all need to follow those because the end result to some of these things, there's a reason for those codes and there's a reason for the rules.
Well, that Legionnaire's disease is something that when I was getting my commercial inspection license is really the big one that they really promoted. Right. Now, I don't want to get into that because that's a different animal, but absolutely it's devastating to our water pipes. And so with this system you've got running, but that just saves us a ton of money. Folks, first, let's not have to call Steve, but if you have to, right, he's the guy to call. Hey, you shared this with me, and I got to share it because we're talking about the health and the water flow. I got to share this. He shared this poster with me, and it looks like an old poster here, and it says, "The plumber protects the health of the nation." You know how much that makes sense. I think that is so true. And we was out, of Seattle, and they said that their initial sewer lines were all wood, and then it talked about as it deteriorated, how people were getting sick. Right. Of course, most of the young people don't remember the old outhouses out there, but the same kind of concept where it's poisoning the air, the environment out there. So you guys have a very important environmental concerns and taking care of. Right. I want to switch out of the cast iron pipe, and I want to jump on this black pipe, that black drain pipe we call ABS pipe, and talk to the folks why we don't see it's out there, but we don't use it anymore. Explain to the people why we don't use it. It's
a good point. The best I can tell, because there are a lot of products that have come and gone in the plumbing industry, and so I've been around it. My father is a master plumber. My father was all through the 60s, the 50s, the 60s, and through the 70s physically out there working. In the 80s, not so much, and I think when I got involved more in the summers of the 60s or the 70s, and then and through the 80s, plastic PVC, which stands for polyvinyl chloride, came out in the late 60s, early 70s. There was a lot of resistance to that piping because it was taking the place of cast iron. So my father's era was resisting. Why would that take away? That would take away their work in the sense of they were using lead and melting lead and sealing each joint, and here you can glue a joint. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of issues that kind of came up with that as far as an industry. And the pricing in the early stages was a little higher for that. Well, along came another formula of the acronym for ABS. ABS was more, I believe, if I looked up the thing, was more West Coast, and it kind of creeped into our market here in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. But it was having a lot of failures. It's thinner than the white Schedule 40 PVC piping. It became brittle. It was attacked with with the sunlight. So a lot of things, there's no resistance to that. And they at least, because I just had this happen to us in a job, that I had to put a white PVC pipe connected to a black ABS pipe.
I was going to ask you that.
Right.
Good deal.
So they at least thought that the outside dimensions are the same. Mm-hmm. Okay. The wall thickness would be different, but the fittings will join. You are supposed to use a certain glue, but the glue we uses for both. So those are important.
So when you go, if you see it, you can see it right there on the can, too. Now, when we get outside on our drains, of course, folks never see this, except new construction. We got that, we're going to call it almost, so people recognize it, the green drain pipe. It's a little thin. What do you feel about that out there? What's your thought on that?
As an installer, we don't install that. That is Schedule 35. On that number, the Schedule 40 pipe is thicker wall. It's kind of reverse of the electrical industry. As the smaller number comes down, you get a thicker gauge wire. But in the plumbing, it's kind of when the number goes higher, you get a thicker wall. So we have Schedule 35, which is this green sewer pipe only for outside. And then it goes Schedule 40, then Schedule 80. And then into the higher classes for pressure for water. But on sewer and drain, it's the green pipe, which in St. Louis County, you have to bed that pipe and protect that pipe with rock. So you have to haul your excavated materials away and go back with clean granular fill to protect it, because they found where people were just backfilling the clay, it was crushing it, making it egg shape, separating the connections, all those things we find today with the camera. So as an installer, we do not install that. We put in Schedule 40, and we are allowed to backfill the existing material because it won't crush the pipe.
Yeah, we did discover that because we was using that, because as a builder, we used it for quite a while. Of course, we didn't know any better, and now we are getting the calls. Right. You said it was guaranteed for life. Well, that's what I was told, but apparently it's not. But I have to say I'm old fashioned. I stayed with on my home. I used this PVC 40. That was. And I guess I kind of ignorantly went from 4-inch to 6-inch out in the field because the clay tile was sick. We do things the same way sometimes. But that's great to know. Go ahead.
Yeah,
please.
But that pipe, though, is acceptable on the downspout pipings. I think that kind of piping could be used there, and that's what you would want to use instead of black corrugated pipe. The corrugated pipe that comes in a roll is causing all kinds of problems. If you get backed up with leaves and sticks, you cannot cable that without destroying it.
Well, and the corrugation itself is catching
it. And the corrugation is catching all the debris in each one of those things, and that's why a smoother green pipe or that thinner wall pipe is perfect for the downspout. And
it costs a little bit more, but in the long run, it's going to be there, and it's not buried that deep anyway.
That's right.
You was talking about collapsing.
That's
naturally, that's deep. That's underneath the footing, the foundation. Right. Whereas the folks, that our drain tile is what, a foot or so up underneath it, and that I just wanted to clarify because we see that, and I know the folks have seen these things over the years. We just kind of move our plumbing just a little bit more up now, and let's kind of walk in our because every year I hear that Christmas time or the holidays I should say, and Thanksgiving, that we got a lot of clogged drains, and that people, they don't understand that garbage disposals. Right. Well, explain to us the proper use for the garbage disposal because it's frustrating.
Right. Yeah, I would say the garbage disposal is a modern day convenience. I have been to a lot of the manufacturers. InSinkErator, for one, is the main one. And over the years, I've had an opportunity to go to, I will say, like Kohler, to Delta, to Moen, to the A.O. Smith water heaters. All of these factories, they all have products that have been innovated and improved over the years. But we as consumers think that they're the end thing here, especially in a garbage disposal setting. We think we can throw everything down there and this is going to take care of it. I would recommend that light food debris is okay. You start getting into potatoes, for example. That's the most common thing on Thanksgiving. All the potato peels swell in the pipe, and so they may grind them up, but
that's a good point.
They take the water. So those type of things are not recommended to put in there. I've run into a lot of restaurant work over the years, and all the bars would throw down the limes, the lemons, and all the different things. That has caused so many problems, and those are thick. The skins are thick, and they don't get it all, and it gets locked in the blades if they do those things, and just different things like that. So I think my grandparents would say most of it all goes in the trash can or out into the garden to be recycled. And then I guess we take it use, I would say everything in moderation is what I would say as far as that as a disposal.
And I know you've probably seen this too, but when I do a home inspection, and for instance, we had one just a couple of years ago, and they called me right after the holidays, after they moved in. They had all their family over. They was all happy and celebrating that they had their new home. But I screwed up, they said, because did not check the drains. Well, I do the best I can. And best I do, I don't run a scope down it, when I do physical. Right. I just run the waters for like an hour or so, and all the waters. So I knew that we had, but they was really nice people, and they didn't know any better. So I went over there. I don't normally do this, but I went over there and opened it up. A Brillo pad. So I went through the garbage disposal. I don't know what they was thinking. They was cleaning it or disposing it or something. A Brillo pad. That's another thing that don't go down to our disposals.
Yeah, just might have found its way down there. And with people that have those, normally we'll have a dishwasher right next to it. And then the dishwasher drains and is piped to the disposal. So if you don't fully remove all that waste, now your dishwasher backs up because it's trying to get through there. So there's a lot of things to be concerned with the disposals in that regard.
That's a great. I just really wanted to hit that one because I think that's a big problem out there for the folks. We'll kind of move into some of the other things about faucets, and we want to talk about, if we got take a little bit of time, and we and we got the water Okay, so we got these water saving faucets that you have to run twice as long to make work. Now, I know there's been great improvements on them, just like our toilets. We're not, with the old toilets that you had to flush 3 or 4 times to make it work. But I know that's we'll talk about faucets. But then, if we could, please, I'd like to jump on the toilet just a little bit too.
Sure, and everything here too, and it's what Pipe Solutions does as well. We're trying to be better water managers. We want to conserve the water, and so do the EPA and the conservation approach to all this. Is that it used to be 2.5 gallons per flush, and now it's 1.6. And now we're using less water, which is great, but then it may take a couple times to flush something. But that's not the intent here. Is that in the faucets, in the showers, in all of the those type of fixtures, they have added these flow restrictors, and the flow restrictors sometimes have good intentions to keep us using less water in a shower, less water in your hand sink. But here's what happens: we have harder water, debris gets in there, it blocks those. So the best way from a preventive maintenance is to unscrew the aerator, which has the screen. A lot of people want to take out the flow restrictor. That's not really a good thing to do, but I understand in some cases. When we have a problem where someone doesn't have hot water, it's typically the hot water because of the hardness of the water. And that is the calcium in the water, those harder minerals in the water are forming and they're collecting in these faucets. So if someone doesn't have hot water on the second floor, for example, we don't try to repipe the whole house, you start with that faucet because it starts right there and work backwards. It might be in the faucet, it might be in the valve underneath your vanity, or in a kitchen sink underneath the kitchen sink. You work backwards from that point, but from a maintenance issue, to save that call, if it just a simple unscrewing that aerator and cleaning that filter might save that call.
Now, but if it's on the hot side, Lisa, I'm going to introduce you to the show. This is a good, because I just had this.
Yes.
You're going to get this referral. She's expecting it, and she knows that you're doing this right here today. And so, anyway, so now what happened? Now,
Yes.
and this happens all the time, and you know it. So, but I just so they changed out the brand new faucet. Well, when they changed out the brand new faucet, it just shortly thereafter the hot. It just slowly comes up. But the cold still works fine. Explain to them what they can do and maybe what you can do to help them if that doesn't work.
Right.
Because now that was put there. This is an old University City home.
I was gonna say the older faucets, and when we separate hot and cold, they each have their own stems. They each have their own going on. That if you're getting water pressure out of one, then you can focus on that hot in this particular case. If it's a mixing valve, a single handle where both the hot and cold are coming to a center cartridge, then we got to look at the whole cartridge, the whole stem. Same way on a shower, on the cartridges, single handle versus hot and cold water handles. So those are troubleshooting type things that you can kind of determine. Hot in the whole house, well, that might be the hot water heater. Hot just in one particular area, like a kitchen sink, it might be too far away on a larger ranch.
Yeah,
and those are all kind of things where it takes time. But I think back to the health of what we're trying to protect, especially in today's time. We want people washing their hands, and you want to do it with the warmer water for the water for all of our concerns. Just wherever we are.
So with that, when we do have that on a lot of our bigger homes, and it takes so long to get water on the other side. So the tankless has been one of the things that we get talk about. I know there's preheaters and all this, but let's talk about tankless. Tell us a little bit how that technology works, and cost effectiveness, because people call it energy conservation, and you're the expert.
Well, when they first came out and they came to the area, they were really not prepared for our area where we have change of season, because they were only mounted outside. They did not have the proper venting to take the cold air in and exhaust out. They did have them, but that's the ones that should only be here in our area that are mounted inside for freezing protection. So I think are very, for the right purpose, and any vacation home, like a lake home, why would you heat that 40, 50 gallons of water all the time when no one's there?
Right.
So that is a perfect application. That's why they're very much used in Florida and Southern California, the Nevada areas, all across the country. Those are very popular. I think they will continue to be growing in that area because their costs have come down and the tanks have gone up. So we're getting closer to where they're very comparable. The only maintenance thing that I would say is concerned, if we have hard water, there's areas that are requiring a softener for the manufacturer to have the water.
That's a good point.
To a filtration type system to collect that. Because the burning units on these tankless are so more, sophisticated that it's attacking those elements a little quicker because you're heating water quicker.
Okay. Well, that's a great point, and I'm glad that you shared that about the price going down.
Yes.
Because that's always been one of the biggest burdens for us.
Right.
Now, when I get asked this a lot, we're gonna stay on hot water for a little bit, and that is that big old hunking tank sitting off the side of it, a shock absorber or whatever, and it's code now. Right. Talk to the people, because I get asked almost all the time when somebody's buying a home, what's this for? Why do I have to have it?
Right. So these are they're expansion tanks, and the purpose of the expansion tank is what they found is that the temperature as it's heated in the tank. We have safety valves on it. We have a temperature and pressure regulator. So those are, if things get too high in temperature or the pressure builds up too much, it will trip and discharge and do its job. And that's why we have those. And you should have a floor drain by there. That's another code. But the what they found is that in high pressure areas, especially
high water pressure
coming into the home or the building, we have to reduce that. So we have reducing valves on the main service lines coming in the home. But what we've created now is a extremely closed system within the house or the building. And so what happens is now we're holding back pressure and temperatures heating up in the tanks. And we're finding that the hot water is back feeding into the cold water system. And that is a major concern because now this tank is now pushing back through temperature and pressure related things, pushing back hot water into the cold water systems. Where it might happen more in a commercial. I've had schools that all of a sudden hot water's coming out of a drinking fountain. It's all because of this thermal expansion.
So it's coming out of the hot water heater and going back
into the cold water system.
So that's why we have.
So this tank has a bladder inside of it, and what you're to do is take your pressure reading to the house, and then it comes preset from the factory at a certain pressure, and you may have to adjust that up or down based on your pressure. And that bladder then forces the water back into the tank.
Good. I'm glad you explained that. So what I'm going to do is when people ask me, I'm going to say, listen to the show, listen to what Steve talked. Yeah. But, I got to tell, and this has not talking about water backing up. So I did an inspection on an apartment building here a few years ago. And some of the people who are listening on this show had been on this show that's going to be listening to. And what happened was I got in trouble because every time they flush their toilet, hot water's coming out. Well, I claimed it had nothing to do with what you're talking about. Right. What happened was the guy, when he replaced the hot water heaters, he got his pipes mixed up. Yep, and every time he flushed it, and he was getting hot water. And we teased about what that could be for. You clean yourself at the same time. But the owners didn't think that was funny. So that's another reason why handyman shouldn't be doing plumbing in some of these areas. But I wanted to jump over here just because we're trying to work my way, as you can see, from the ground all the way to the top. Explain to the folks about our vents, why we have stack vents. Tell them how them things actually work, because I see a lot of roofers, when they go back and they put that lead shield on it, they take an 1.5-inch pipe that's now down to 3/4 inch because they don't. So explain to the folks what's happening with that.
Right. So you have a gravity sewer system, so everything has to go down. So if you fill
the old adage goes downhill.
Yeah, everything goes downhill in this plumbing world. But in order to have that flow down, you have to have that atmospheric. You have to relieve the pressure going up and out, so the air goes up, and it's all with codes, because each fixture, a toilet, a bathtub, a shower, a kitchen sink, a laundry, all of those are fixture units that are engineered in the sense that that's how many units it needs, and that is determined then on your size of your vent. So if you have a 4-inch, like a kitchen sink is a 2-inch vent, a toilet, when you can put a toilet, a shower, a lav all on, can even come down to 3-inch, but then now you add that other toilet, bathroom to that, you really need to have a 4-inch going out. And we'll get a lot of problems where you'll get some sewer smell because it's not alleviating itself, type, and it's not vented properly. And you get a lot of things that aren't vented properly in a basement or in a lower level.
Like bathrooms, right? Yeah. And that is one of the big things that we run across is it's not properly vented. Now, I don't ever try to tell people how to properly vent. I just refer them over to the master plumbers. But people don't understand that that you just can't just stick a toilet in the ground and call it plumbed.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's waste vent, and you have your water piping, and from a new construction or a remodel, you have to take all three of those steps and get those in the wall properly and up and out the roof.
Yeah, and so and that's a problem when you do home inspections, and unless we get somebody in, because we don't see what's behind them walls. So we have to. That's a good reason, though, that why we run the water, because that kind of. I mean, that's the best we can actually do for testing it, is if it don't flow quick, X amount of gallons per minute to flow down it. But wow, what a mess. We don't have this a lot. And so you probably don't encounter it a lot, but sometimes on our stack pipes up on the roof, when it's very cold, they'll ice over.
Right.
So, I mean, do you talk to the folks about what's happening with that? I know what it is, but it's better if you explain it, because I only know layman's terms, and that's sometimes kind of crude.
Yeah, so the vents that are going up and out the roof need to be properly flashed. The flashings where they don't do it the old way with the lead typically. Not in,
yeah.
But this reducing that size, what you're talking about, and that moisture that's going on there, it could... In certain parts of the country, weather does play into effect, because they have reduced that size. But when they've gotten down to that 1-inch size, they've had problems where just everything from a bird's nest to a mud dauber type thing clogging those up, and also freezing if they were that's why these sizes have to have that airflow, have to be large enough to take that.
Yeah, actually, it was a few years ago. I was doing a commercial inspection, and it was been cold, like 0 for a week or so, and it was almost totally frozen shut. And of course that was you were talking about the warm air coming up, hitting the cold air, and then wow. Well, hey, this is one of my favorite segments, and we've already picking on somebody here who've gotten permission to say, but tell us one of the horror stories about some wild stuff that you found, and how gross it was.
With the cameras, we do find a lot of different things, and this particular job, if Joe here doesn't mind me sharing it with, is that
Joey's our producer, and I always give hats off to him almost every show. We love him so much.
Yeah, so it's all good. But his home, very nice home, was coming. The sewer went out the back, and it unfortunately went down a hill. So fortunate from his standpoint, he's uphill. So you want to have your house as high as you can.
Good for him.
But unfortunately, the sewer ran through the property behind and then out to a sewer on the street behind him, in front of that house. And it ran under a tree, and the tree had taken over the sewer. This is a 6-inch clay pipe, and we had a 6-inch root.
Can you imagine a 6-inch? I know you showed me the picture. It's hard to imagine a 6-inch root.
Right. So so if you think about it this way too, in the springtime, all these trees, all their growth is going to the leaves. And as soon as fall starts, all through in our area here, September, October, November, December, all the way to spring, the roots are the growth, and they are seeking the moisture, and they get into these cracks in the sewer, they get into the joints of that clay, and they literally will be the size of your fingers, and then grow. And if they're not properly maintained, what Joe found out is he had no sewer. It was completely backed up.
Oh, and you showed me the video of that big old root, and then and what come out of that? Oh my stars! People say plumbers get paid too much money. Well, you put your butt down in that hole a little bit. You see what comes out of them, and you'll say, "I don't think you could pay me enough."
Yeah. So Joe had a situation, but fortunately he's uphill, and it was just. We wanted to keep the peace with the neighbors, so we kept it all flowing good.
Yeah, boy. We got tons of stories about that too. Subdivisions being built, brand new ones, and the pumps going. And we got so many different things in plumbing that I would love to have you come back and share some more, because there's a I mean, you've been around for, well, I hate to say forever, but per deer.
I'm not that old.
Well, neither am I. We was teasing earlier, just 29 plus.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Well, folks, I want you. I really appreciate you guys listening to our show here. I want you to reach out to Steve Merlo, Pipe Solutions, and Steve. Give him your phone number. Tell him how to best find out more about you, your products, and
Yeah,
websites.
Our website's pretty detailed. It does have videos. I would like to get some more before and after videos on there, but the process of the lining that we talked about earlier is all on the video. And all the girls that are in the office are very knowledgeable. They can help answer the questions. But for us to do the right thing is to, if we don't video it, you can email your video to us. If we were to do the sewer cammering and cleaning, that would be one thing, that we're not your ordinary cable kind of company, because what we're doing is we have technology that we're watching what we're cleaning while the camera is in the pipe. The whole cable isn't spinning, only the head is spinning, and that's something new that came from not in this market.
I like that idea. So that's going to cause less damage.
So instead of us just putting here's the problem, and this would be the typical problem for all these homes. You have no outside access, which is a 6-inch pipe. You have your stack in your basement. That is a 4-inch pipe. Then you have a clean out plug if you're lucky for that, and that plug is now 3.5 inches. So the largest cutter you're putting into the sewer inside is a 3-inch cutter. Then you're pushing it out into the 6-inch that is root growth into these clays, and you're only putting a small hole through that because you can't clean that. Our system has a way to go in and expand, can go into a 2-inch pipe and expand to the 6-inch pipe. And we're able to watch that with the camera, flush everything, and see all that. So these are the kind of things that are at our website. These are the kind of things that we can really help you with that I think some of the other processes that we're all traditionally trying to use, they've changed.
Yeah, they're outdated now.
They're outdated.
Well, give them your website and your phone number.
Okay, so we're out in the Wentzville area, so we're out west, but we service the whole metropolitan area at 636-856-8989. And the website is pipesolutions.com.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You got to come back. I've been trying to get you for a long time. I know you're really busy. That's because you're in high demand. You've been around. People know you, and your reputation far precedes you. So that's awesome. And
thank you,
I like I said, I've known Steve since the mid '90s, so a long time. And I highly recommend him. And a lot of folks know I recommend them all the time. And so, hey, but you guys ever need any kind of construction inspections, give us a call. Galloway Building Services. If you guys you're doing selling or buying a building, whether it be commercial or residential, give us a call. We'd love to help you. And construction inspections, there isn't anybody out here that does the construction inspections. How scary is it that you spend all this money, have it all boarded up, have it all covered in, and you don't have a clue? Check out out on YouTube. I got hundreds of videos out there. You can also find this radio show out there on YouTube. I got pictures and videos of things where it just blow your mind. Steel beams missing, boards just dangling, and we're talking about expensive custom builders right here in our own area. So give us a call, Galloway Building Services, and my office number 636-394-3112. And Steve, thank you for coming. Please, you got to come back. We got tons more questions for you.
We'll do it.
All righty, buddy. Thank you. Thank you, Joey. We always love you.
Thanks.
Sponsored by Troy Galloway and Galloway Building Services, your top choice for professional home inspections in the St. Louis area. GallowayBuildingServices.com.